Welcome in. It's the PennLive Wrestling Podcast. Dave Heckard's here with me. I'm Dustin Hawkinsmith, looking at what's going on around the Mid-Penn and around District 3 as we flip the calendar into 2022. Happy New Year, by the way. And we start looking at a dual-centric calendar here for the next few weeks. You're going to see a lot of divisional duels. You're going to see a lot of dual-type tournaments. We have some individual stuff along the way here, but for the most part, we're going to get into dual season. And Dave, I mean, if you can just kind of share with us, I guess, as a team, as a coach, as you do make this transition and you do come back from the holiday, you are kind of settling back in and you're looking at whether it's rivalry matches or important matches or stretches where you wrestle Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, some different types of wear and tear that go on. What's the mentality change this time of year as you get into January?
As much as the coaches and the kids like tournaments and you look, it's about the postseason, you know what I mean? And I get all that. But here's where the sport of wrestling is kind of different and unique, okay? Is you have a lineup and you have some kids in your team that are more experienced than others, right? You have experienced kids to inexperienced kids of all levels. But a kid who is inexperienced, right, can go out and lose a match and do his job by not giving up a pin, okay, and be the hero of a match. So everybody has a role, and everybody has a job to do. And the good teams that get every one of those kids to buy into that concept, it's fun to see compete against each other, because every kid's fighting and scratching for every point. They're trying not to give up pins. They're trying to get bonus. It's a great atmosphere. And really for the sport of wrestling, like I said, as much as the coaches and the kids love the tournaments, the fans like the dual meets. That's where I feel like, we have to get back into the sport of wrestling has to get back into the mindset of good teams wrestling each other. And good matchups and good atmosphere, for matches and whatnot. And, sometimes you don't get that, and I think the sport of wrestling needs that. And I feel like, looking at the schedule we have coming up here this week, we're going to get a little bit of that, where you're going to have some good teams in the district here facing off, some AA versus AAA, some good league matches interdivision matches you're going to have between teams. And it's good for the fans. It's good for the districts. I mean, you as Bishop McDevitt, or you as Trinity, or you as Camp Hill, you're representing, Camp Hill is representing their community, on Wednesday night when they wrestle Trinity. And, there's a good atmosphere there and fans come out to watch. And yeah, I mean, I like the dual meets just because of that, and we got some good ones coming up for sure.
Well, there's two that you broke down. I want to add one other thing here. It's that Big Springs girls are going to wrestle Gettysburg's girls on Wednesday as well. And that's going to be kind of a big, I don't know if historic is the right way to put it, but it's a major moment for the sport of girls wrestling and the push to grow that, because you have these two teams, and Big Spring has been such a revelation because they started a girls program officially what feels like about 5 minutes ago, and they look like they got some competitive kids there, so that'll be fun. I'm actually going to that on Wednesday. There is another duel that we'll have you break down here, but Cumberland Valley going to West Perry on Wednesday night. What to me it looks like, at their best, you can definitely make a case that Cumberland Valley is the best AAA team in the Mid-Penn, and you can make a case that West Perry is the best AA team in the Mid-Penn. And they're chasing that competition, especially West Perry, to wrestle up against Cumberland Valley. And there's a similar situation last year when Boiling Springs went into your place and wrestled you guys. And I think a big tip of the cap, I think the AA coaches who are saying, you know what, if this impacts us negatively in the power ratings at the end of the year, then so be it. It's a good experience. We're bringing a big time duel, in this case, to Elliotsburg. CV making the trip up the mountain to Elliotsburg. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, and again, that's great for Gettysburg and Big Springs, and I will be at the Cumberland Valley West Perry match. However, I will not be at the Gettysburg versus Big Spring girls match. But I'm super excited for this matchup Wednesday. I feel like there's going to be some pretty good individual bouts. Just from a wrestling standpoint, from an outsider, you probably would say that West Perry has the edge a little bit. I mean, here they came off of a great, Christmas tournament. They won Trojan Wars. They have enough heavy hitters to do some damage. And they seem to be rolling here. So, but however, you look at Cumberland Valley, and if they can put it together, and again, this goes back to what I said, earlier in the year. It's about keeping it together. Can everybody be healthy? And you and I were talking before, and we even did the podcast, and how right now I just feel like the sport of wrestling and coaching, it gets so difficult because with COVID right now, you don't know who's showing up to your room day in and day out. You don't know who's. So here we are. We're going to run through these lineups here and take a look at what could be, but you don't know what you're getting Thursday night. Who's in, who's out, who has COVID, who had close contact with somebody, who, I mean, the list goes on. So, I like to say we have a good matchup here, and I truly believe we do. But Thursday night we'll see. And you also have the AAA AA thing, and I think there's some outstanding AA wrestlers, but and this is no knock on AA, but it is different. You know what I mean? And just by school size alone, and depth, AA versus AAA, and then that doesn't mean a AA, West Perry can't beat a Cumberland Valley. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have a West Perry team right now that's flying high. This is arguably the best team to ever come through West Perry. I mean, let's be honest, okay?
Yeah.
And
I don't even know if you have to say arguably about that one.
Yeah.
Certainly they have to get there and they have to do it in the postseason and all that. But without a doubt, no team in West Perry history has had more firepower than this one.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And so, here we are, West Perry's best team, best AA team ever. And they're going to wrestle Cumberland Valley, who is a team still trying to find themselves, I think. I mean, the Central Dauphin lost with guys out. They had a dual tournament they went to over break that, the competition wasn't the greatest, but they went 5-0 and got some good matches and whatnot, individual matches. And, and here they are, they're going to meet, and it's going to be a good matchup. And I think, the tough thing is, for West Perry, in my opinion, is the forfeits. You know what I mean? And you can't forfeit matches in big dual meets. You just can't. So, they're giving up 6 at 106. And different times I've seen they've wrestled where, they might have had a forfeit in the middle where they've bumped guys up, and you just can't leave that open. And I don't know, there could be guys back for them. Who knows? I mean, Cumberland Valley could have forfeits on Thursday night. Who knows? Or Wednesday night? Who knows? Right? But I just feel like giving up that 6 uncontested points is just a tough one to recover from against good teams. But if any team can do it, man, I mean, West Perry, as you said, like they go after it. They try to pin you. They try to wear you down, and they're going to get their bonus. So it's going to be a good dual meet. I mean, I have it split 7-6. I don't know. I initially would say if I was a betting man, I'd take West Perry by 5, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. And I mean, it's going to be a good atmosphere on Wednesday night. I know that West Perry's done an outstanding job of trying to sell tickets to this match and hype it up. And so I'm heading up. I'm going to pick up my mom and a buddy of mine, and we're gonna head up over the mountain and check this dual meet out on Wednesday night.
I'm from Perry County, and every time I go to West Perry, I'm surprised how it's not close to anything. Like it feels like it's its own little world out there in Elliotsburg. And, you make that trip up there and they are going to care about this match. That community is going to care. I showed up for their preseason little intra-squad duel event that they did, and there was not a packed house, but there were people there. There were people there. And I think a lot of people around that community are excited about this team. They can kind of recognize how special the group is that they have together. And one interesting dynamic to this, and I I'm not passing judgment on anybody because I haven't seen, but when you do have that AA versus AAA, I do think that sometimes, whether it's in an individual tournament or in a duel or whatever, there's a little bit of a AAA mystique that you're battling through. And the individual at the individual level is the kid out there really in belief that he's going to beat a AAA kid. You got to fight that battle 13 individual times in a duel. And I really feel like West Perry is going to feel like they belong. They're going to feel like they're the team to beat. I don't think you got to convince them of that, but there is that variable.
I agree with you. I agree. I love, I mean, listen, I did some coaching football at Mechanicsburg this year, and they play West Perry in football. And, I've been up to and I love the drive up there. You know what I mean? It's beautiful. But there's a lot of pride in that community, and you can bet your bottom dollar that when the Eagles roll in there Wednesday night, not only are they going to be battling the West Perry Mustangs on the bench, man, but they're going to be battling a loud, hostile crowd. And Cumberland Valley has some young kids, some good kids, but some young guys in the lineup, and they're going to experience some havoc on Wednesday. And I could that head to them. I don't know. But in the same token, I mean, Cumberland Valley wrestles good competition every week. So this is another match to them. It's not like, oh my gosh, we're wrestling a good West Perry. Well, I mean, they wrestle Central Dauphin, they wrestle, State College on Wednesday or Thursday. They're going up to the Parkland Duels, where they're going to see Northampton and Parkland on Saturday. So they're not scared of wrestling anybody. But you go to a away match, and it's a great atmosphere. It's loud, and you have some young kids on the team, and you just don't know how they're going to respond sometimes. And I think West Perry has some experience, has this Cumberland Valley, and it's going to be interesting to see. I think there's going to be some interesting matchups in through the middle between 26 and 52. I think the 32-pound match could be interesting to me with Kitzmiller and the Pahalski kid. I think Pahalski might be favored a little bit, but Kitzmiller's a wild card in the fact that he is a dangerous kid. The match that I want to see is at 145 or 152. I think that you got a combination of Belga, Mockimer versus Seidel, the Seidel kid, from West Perry. That's going to be a good matchup. Possibly Ziegler. I mean, I know that West Perry has bumped Ziegler up in matches up to 45, and they'll bump up from that point. So there's some good, interesting matchups in through the middle there. And the match that, again, here we are. We're going to talk about two wrestlers here that you're not going to see at states. You're not going to probably see at districts. Okay. But that's the heavyweights, the Bevilacqua kid and the Carver kid. And I think they're two similar wrestlers, right? But the match can come down to that match, and I mean, here's two guys that, they wrestle, they probably play some football, and, they're your less experienced kids, but at the end of the day, they can be heroes for their team, and so that's the interesting matchups that I like to check out too, is, what you got there. And it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a great atmosphere, get there early. All the above.
So, I mean, it's the crazy thing about dual wrestling is that you're always looking forward to the good on good. You're looking forward to the state medalists and the state medalists, if you can get it. A lot of times that doesn't happen, but a lot of duels, Dave, these days, especially come down to, kids who are in the bottom third of your skill level or your talent level or your experience level or whatever. You have a lot of matchups that, in this one, you highlighted a couple of them, guys that, you wouldn't circle their names in a state bracket or a district bracket, but they're going to have their chance. And I compare it to people who don't really follow wrestling to handicap bowling, where like I bowled in a league where you had a handicap and I averaged about a 170. So if I bowl a 185, that's great for my team. But if the guy who averages 220 bowls a 185, that torpedoes your team. Right. So it's kind of like that, you wrestle up, you save that point, you win that point, whatever you got to do, everybody can kind of play their part. And I do expect to see some good complementary wrestling between these two teams on Wednesday night. Trinity's going to Camp Hill on Wednesday. It's another highlight there. Looking at the Thursday schedule, One big one there certainly jumps out. Yeah, Bishop McDevitt going to Trinity, which I think could be a fun matchup. A couple good individual ones there, but Mifflin County going to Central Dauphin. We talked about it in our previous episode. Just looking at what this going to me, this is one that's going to give the Commonwealth Division some shape and some clarity. And I think for all these duels, by the way, we are expecting some kind of impact, be it COVID, close contact, whatever the case might be. You're expecting some impact. My hope for all of them is if there is an impact, that it's proportional on both sides, that you don't have one team slammed and one team not. So at least you have a somewhat even playing field, but nobody has control over this situation. We can talk until we're blue in the face and look at what we think is going to happen here. But come Thursday, a lot could change then that we don't know about right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Trinity and Camp Hill. That's a good backyard brawl. I think Camp Hill has some tough kids in their lineup. As does Trinity. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Then you have McDevitt and Trinity on Thursday with a 1 pound weight allowance, right? Because they wrestled Wednesday. So, but anyway, yeah, there you go. So anyway, McDevitt at Trinity. And again, that's again, Trinity trying to work their way up in that division, trying to build their program. And I think McDevitt might have a little too much for him, but that'll be a good little dual meet for that division. Yeah, but Mifflin County and Central Dauphin. So you said clarity. See, I disagree. I think the Mid-Penn Commonwealth is going to be just a complete disaster. Like Mifflin County could beat Central Dauphin, and then Cumber Valley is going to beat Mifflin County, and then Chambersburg is going to beat Cumber Valley, but Mifflin County is going to beat Chambersburg. And then, I think that's what you're going to have this year in that division. Is everybody, there's about, I say everybody, but I'd say 4 teams in that division beating each other. I think you could see that. But if Central Dauphin does win and beat Mifflin County, the down Central Dauphin, if they beat Mifflin County, man, they're sitting pretty right now, for that division and where they started the year and what Jeff thought he really had. In the same token, I feel the same way about Mifflin County. Talking to Kirby, I think, even on his sheet that he had to give the information on him, he picked them to be last. So, he has to be happy after a win against Central Dauphin on Thursday night if they turn out to win it. So, there's going to be some pretty good matches in that Mifflin County Central Dauphin match. At 100.
Let me say this real quick. You said Kirby's got to be happy. I've never talked to Kirby where he's truly in the moment happy with his team. He doesn't allow himself to be happy with his team, and then part of that's being a coach, right? But part of it is just him, focus on what do we need to fix.
Yeah, no, he's one of my favorites to talk to, man. I really like him. He does a nice job up there, I think, and
he does.
He puts out a good product every year, and it's a great place to travel to and wrestle at. And yeah, they're making the trip down to down to CD, and the matchup I like again is at 120. I think that was a match in that tournament there, maybe for third with Johnson and Dallas Shore Tom. Yeah, that's going to be a big match in that dual meet. Everly and Garvick, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Will one of those teams bump away to secure a win somewhere else? We talked about Central Dauphin's inexperience up top. Do they bump up there to try to bump out one of those inexperienced guys to take advantage up top? And you could see that, especially Everly beating him, in the tournament. Now I'm sure, being the competitor Garvick is, he's going to want that one back. So he's going to want a wrestling, but in the same token, if Jeff needs to bump up to win a dual meet, he's going to do it. So, and then the 285-pound match, that was a real close match in the tournament. I think a 1-0 match between Puppo and Stewart. So, you're going to have some interesting matches here. I think, where Mifflin County, man, I think has a big upper hand is from 72 to 215. You know what I'm saying? And there could be some bonus there that they're getting through those 3 weights. I don't know if Central Dauphin's getting that bonus at those other spots. They might get wins, but I don't know if they're going to get the bonus that Mifflin County is going to get at those spots. And of course, they will with maybe reposts and different. But there's a lot of points being scored by Mifflin County from 72 to 215. And so it'll be interesting to see what Jeff tries to do to cut down on those points. And like we said, possibly bumping up to do that. So yeah, it'll be a good one. I have it 7-6, as far as bouts, between the two teams. But if they switch that, now it's 7-6 Central Dauphin. So I think again, you can sit here and predict all you want, but here we are again. We're going to show up Thursday night, and who knows who's going to be in the lineup. I looked at Mifflin County's. I looked at the brackets from the Buckskin just to see where they matched up and all that, and a couple of their guys injury defaulted out of the tournament for their placing matches. I think they had 2 of those. So is that a that day thing where kids may be a little banged up and you just want to rest them, or is it something serious? So just by that, who knows, right? So, but it'll be a good one for sure, and see where the Commonwealth is at.
What do you do if you're Swags and you do think that there's a legitimate risk of let's call 285 a toss up? You do think there's a legitimate risk of losing from 72 to 215, and then you see you have Ryan Garvick there who's coming off a loss to a kid that he might see at 160. What are you angling for there? What are you trying to accomplish?
I mean, he can't from 52 up. Jeff can't lose all 6 of those. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, they're going to get, at 52, I have the kid from Mifflin County winning that one. So, I feel like, 52, 72, 89, 215. I mean, now heavyweight, if the kid from Mifflin County pulls that one out. So now you're what? You're dependent on Garvick, who is one of your best wrestlers, to beat a kid who beat him already because if Central Dauphin loses Garvick, they're done. I think, they need to get one up top there. And if they put him out at 60 and he gets beat, it's going to make it difficult for them for sure.
They need their hammers to step up and wrestle. And I would include Liam Flanagan in that group too, where you're going to be wanting bonus from him at 106.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you're going to need bonus from repost. You're going to need whatever's going on there with Garvick and what they decide to do. Everly, will they run into each other again? You need Garvick to either score bonus or to beat the Everly kid. Their formula is pretty rigid as far as that goes. You can't afford to have any of that go wrong. And you could really use and the wild card here, and I've seen it enough times with Ben Stewart, is that okay, this kid beat him 1-0. He's a long athletic kid. I think he's gonna know, and he's spelled out what Ben Stewart's trying to do to him, but it just takes one underhook, man. And that could be a game wrecker.
If I was looking at a dual meet and I saw a match where we needed to get one more win somewhere, I tried to focus on that match I felt the biggest toss up, and then I just worked. I would mentally try to prepare the kid, and that week at practice, and try to just work extra hard with that kid, and Stu's that guy this week for Central Dauphin. You know what I mean? And I think Jeff's like, I know right now we need that match. If he gets that match now, and Garvick gets a win up top, now you're okay. You know what I mean? Now you're in this battle. But it's interesting you said that, because I'm sitting here looking at the lineup, and the first thing that goes to my mind is 285. That's a 1-0 match in that tournament. That's a match that Jeff has to try to get Stu ready for here and try to get that one back. And Stu is a wild card, as you said, man. You one match he doesn't look good, the next match, he comes out of nowhere and he gets it done. It's kind of crazy, but what's Stu's going to show up on Thursday is the question, right? So
he's going to be hunting, and that's going to be the game plan. And I've seen, there have been kids who have known exactly what he's doing, but sometimes you can't circle out of that for 6 whole minutes. And so it's just going to come down to, is he going to get what he wants and be able to kind of seal the deal there? The Puppo kid is pretty good though. And clearly has felt that out and avoided trouble once against Stewart. But maybe the hope for CD here is that you get this kid in front of his home crowd. You get a situation where the duel's tight. You kind of need to go bang, bang 285 to 106. And, you're probably not on the winning end at 113 with Nick Allison presumably there. So I think you kind of need that 285, and then you need Flanagan to back that up with a nice performance there at 106.
Yeah, and then equally into that like light middle area, 26 to 45, I see the opposite. You know what I mean? I see Central Dauphin scoring, down there through those weights, but I don't see like, I don't know if I see Central Dauphin pinning those guys or scoring bonus in some of those matches, and that's what team wrestling is about. If you're Mifflin County and you have guys that can go out and battle these guys for 6 minutes and you lose and you only give up 3 points for your team. I mean, that's huge, and that's, as a coach, I could tell you that's what Jeff wants. That's what Kirby wants. The guys that go out, battle hard. The guys that aren't favored, go out and fight hard for your team and give everybody a good dual meet.
Looking ahead to Saturday, you get into one of these really busy dual tournament weekends. Anything jump out at you as far as who's where? I mean, CD's got a few teams coming, Northern, Big Spring, Bethlehem Liberty, I think is coming to CD's gym, so they'll be right back in action there. Boiling Springs going to the Bloody Run duels. You've got Carlisle going to the Cedar duels. Chambersburg, if everything shapes up down there,
yeah,
the most interesting group of them all. Hempfield, Chambersburg, Redland State College among those teams.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I just want to see Chambersburg Hempfield. Hempfield for the listeners. I mean, Hempfield's a team in District 3. We haven't talked about much because they're not in the Mid-Penn, but I would say they're the other favorite. Like, you have your Central Dolphins, your Gettysburgs, your Cumber Valleys that are kind of the favorites here in the area as far as representing, the Mid-Penn in District 3. Hempfield's that team out of the Lancaster County. So, and they are darn tough. So that'll be a good one to see at the Chambersburg duels. Cumber Valley at the Parkland duels.
Barometer around here. If you want to try to figure out where Cumber Valley stacks up on the District 3 level or where CD stacks up, you can get a good gauge by how Hempfield wrestles Chambersburg.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even State College, if things work out there. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Northern Lebanon, Mats on Mecca, Grizzly duels, Waynesboro, Shippensburg at the Canner duels. I do want to say one more match on Thursday that I want to talk a little bit about is the Northern Redland match. You know what I mean? I feel like that's going to be a battle, for a little bit. I do think Redland maybe needs to flip a match, get a win where they're expecting to not win, to be in that one. But that'll be an interesting one for that division too. So.
And both of those teams are kind of built the same way, where you don't have an abundance of hammers, but they've got a pretty good kid at most of those weight classes. Redland wrestling in their home gym, if they got some energy there, can kind of flip them. But I've really been impressed by the way that Northern has wrestled under Dan Nauman. I think they've got a little bit of an edge there, and I would kind of look to them to win that one. But Baglio's got a team. If they're getting better and they're raising their levels up a little bit, they've got some kids that could be some wild cards in that matchup.
Dustin, no, yeah. I'm sorry. No, and again, here we are. Who knows who's going to be in the lineup?
Yeah.
All it takes is one guy to be out to completely flip the outcome of a match. So yeah, we can sit here and say, well, Coach Baglio might get a gift on Thursday. He might, Northern might walk in the gym and not have somebody, with them because they're out sick. And then that's a way that he wasn't expecting to win. And now they're in the match for some reason, it's wild. So
you as a coach are trying to manage these situations. And if it's not enough to have to worry about what 13 kids are doing with their weights or whether they're doing the right thing between the end of the school day and weigh-ins and the match, as if there's not enough stuff outside of your control that you're worried about. Now it's all this stuff.
Yeah, and it is tough, man. I'm glad I'm, one of the reasons I'm glad I'm not in the game this year, is because of this whole deal. I mean, you see it every dual meet every week, like this team, this guy's out, or, heck, there's teams that I know I've talked to coaches, they don't even know if they're competing this week because they might have to they're going to have to postpone stuff and move it back. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, does this get to a point where it does start to affect later dates, like the tournament? Is COVID still going to impact? And you and I were talking earlier, and you said about, you really thought this year this would be over, and here we are where it's not, and things are still happening, and teams are still being forced to shut down or being forced to postpone stuff, and I don't know, man. And it's difficult on the coaches because let's be honest, man. Like, I know, like, for the most part, most coaches out there, like, you put your heart into what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it's important, for you to, be coaching kids, and you love what you do, but, you want to do well. You want to experience success as a coach too. Nobody coaches are placed to lose. So, but then, you want to win. You feel like you have things going in the right direction, but then, in the matter of 2 seconds, all of a sudden you're missing half your team, and, I know that it'd be extremely frustrating for me because, like you, Dustin, we lived in a day and age where it didn't matter. Like, you're sick, like you're going to school, you're going, within reason, like you're wrestling. Like, nobody's telling me I'm not going to practice. Nobody's telling me I'm not going to wrestle tonight. And I think, with this whole thing, that's what's tough is, you have kids that aren't even maybe sick, but they come in close contact. They can't be, in the room. They can't be with their team. So I feel, I feel bad for the kids and the coaches and stuff experiencing this, but I don't know, how does it get any better? Like, where do we go from here? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we improve this so it doesn't, keep happening every year? I don't know the answer to that. Whatever.
I don't think anybody's got a good answer for you, and unfortunately, and you just kind of have to watch and see how things develop. And to your point, to have a wrestler want to come into school, want to compete on a given night, and told they can't. But it's another thing to not only that, to be like, yeah, you're going for 10 days or whatever the rule is. It's not just, hey, you can't come in. Like, it's so much bigger than that. And I think what you're seeing, and as you're looking at the dual schedule in particular, is, how are teams that are going to have 80% of their guys for the entire month of January, that's going to be a revolving group of 80%. How do you find any kind of rhythm? How do you find
continuity? Yeah. I don't know. Because then even you get into weight issues. So let's say a kid's out for 10 days. Well, guess what? Okay, I can promise you, all right, that young man or young woman is not working out as hard at home as they would be at wrestling practice. Yeah. So now they're going to come back after their 10-day hiatus, and they're going to be 15 pounds overweight, 10 pounds overweight because they've been sitting at home. So now they're not going to be able to wrestle for another week until you get their weight down. So I don't know. It's tough, man. I know, I feel bad for the kids. I feel bad for the coaches that experience this stuff. But look, I mean, I think it's nothing that you can control, and everybody's kind of going through this. I don't think anybody's an exception to the rule. So we're all kind of battling this and battling it together. And I think you show up and you put your best product you have that night out on the mat and do what you can do. And you win, you lose. That's part of the sport. But you just keep coaching your tail off and teaching kids good life lessons. And again, that's easy to say, now that we're sitting here behind, but I mean, and that's how you have to kind of look at it,
And I think I'm in the same spot as I would have been last January 3rd, 4th, also, where, I find myself just kind of hoping that whatever's going on, whatever route it's going to go, that by the end of January, that it's impacted and it's run its course, or so that when you get into postseason situations, you have legitimate full teams, you have kids who aren't having the individual postseason taken from them at the inopportune time. You just hope that things can settle one way or the other as you get into February and you get into postseason stuff.
Yeah, and that's the postseason's the one that, you get kids that dedicate their entire life to be a Pennsylvania state champion, or I mean, really, that's your goal as a little kid. These guys have been wrestling since the age of 5, 6, 7 years old, and you go through this whole thing and you get ready for the postseason, and you're told that you can't wrestle and you can't earn a medal, but you can't go after a state title because maybe you came into close contact with somebody and you're not even sick, but you have to sit out. I mean, and I mean, even last year with Jake, I and you and I were talking about this before. If we would have made that district, team race, like we weren't going to do it, and I felt strong about that, and that Jake had a great chance to win a state title, and I didn't want to jeopardize that in any way, shape, or form, man. And we chose what we chose, and everything worked out, great, and I'm glad it did. But going through that, it was just we couldn't wait to get to state, so this worrying was over, and but this year, man, I don't know, I just feel like it's almost a little worse right now.
At this stage, I mean, I think I don't know what the numbers say.
No, I'm just thinking, my gut feeling, like, with I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be something to pay attention to each and every week. I mean, we're going to try to figure out what's going to happen, and you're going to say, if you're a betting man, you'll go this way or that way. But
yeah,
you're not a betting man in these situations. Let's just put it that way. We'll see.
No, you're not.
We get a good week of wrestling in. We get teams that are closely resembling full strength, and you get some legitimate results out of this that you can kind of that the teams deserve. You hate
yeah, no doubt. And it's exciting, man. Fans, get out there, cheer your teams on. I mean, create a great atmosphere, and regardless, whatever's going on. And I'm excited for the team season. I call that, I always call the beginning of the year the tournament season, and then now in January 1 we start the team season, and it's an exciting time of year, and I'm pumped up to see how things shape up here with these different teams across District 3, and in the Mid Penn, and let's have some fun here this January.
And we'll be back here to recap what we've previewed this week, and we'll look ahead to next week and some of those duels, and we'll see what happens with all these teams and illnesses and all that. See what's going on, and what we learned this week. We'll revisit that next week and keep doing the same thing here on the PennLive Wrestling Podcast. Stick with us, and we'll see you next time.